So I'm going to be discussing Mara as well as the Bitcoin halving and interest rates, which seems to be a hot topic right now because we're coming up. I think we're 67 days away from the Bitcoin halving. So before I get into any of this, nothing that I say is financial advice. Do not take an investment based on anything I say. Do your own due diligence and contact your financial advisor. So as of January 31st, the company, Mara, M-A-R-A, holds a total of 15,741 unrestricted Bitcoin. With a substantial cash position at the year end of 2023, Marathon opted not to sell any Bitcoin in January and instead purchased an additional 183.5 Bitcoin at an average price of $39,738. It's at 44 right now. The company intends to continue to sell a portion of its Bitcoin holdings when? Now? Or in the future periods to support monthly operations? What does that tell you? Manage its treasury and for general corporate purposes. So that's telling me, since obviously they understand the cycle of their stock and Bitcoin, that they're bullish. Why would they buy more and then stop selling it? What does that say? And I hear these idiots all over Reddit, all over the Discord groups, and this is their first halving rodeo. Oh, it's not going to be as good as the last. That's too crazy. You know what? This is bad because, you know, they're not going to be mining as much, and it's like, you know, they're not going to be mining as much, and it's bad for the company. They're not going to be making enough money. Pump the brakes. Did you just hear about how much Bitcoin that they own as of right now? 15,741, and they just purchased an additional 183.5. So that's an asset to the company. The company owns it, and their valuation is based on that. That's part of it. And then it's everything else. What mining sites they own, the equipment, the property, right? All that. Valuation, how much money they bring in. If Bitcoin goes up, then the value of the company goes up because they own that Bitcoin, right? And they just stop selling it. It doesn't matter if they're going to be making less money mining it. If Bitcoin goes up as aggressive as it's done every single halving, it's going to exceed what they would have been able to make in mining regardless. And if that were true, the same thing applies to last halving. Did it go up? Well, it was 35 cents and it went to $80. Okay? So those of you that are bashing it and trying to come up with all these hypothetical scenarios on why they don't think that it'll work, and keep in mind, maybe it wouldn't. In my opinion, it will. Doesn't mean that's true. But every other halving, it's worked. And part of what makes Bitcoin go up so ferociously in the halving is, you know, miners, you know, they're responsible for around $1 billion a month in selling because those miners have to sell their Bitcoin in order to, they have to sell their Bitcoin in order to cover electricity costs. And just, you know, maybe they finance the property that they're, the mining equipment, the property that they're mining the Bitcoin on, the energy costs, which if they're in Iceland, it's pretty cheap. You know, they're getting at the energy from the volcano. They're cooling it from the natural air. There's still cost involved, though. There's still salaries, right? There's still bank loans, and they have to pay interest on that on a monthly basis. When they cut that selling, when there's a halving, the reward for mining gets cut in half, right? Hence the word halving. So there's half of less to sell, right? So if the selling gets cut in half when it comes to the miners, which make up a large portion of the selling, because it's not, you know, it isn't investors who are like, let me invest for this for the long term, but buy it and sell it every month. That's not investing. I think it's something around, what is it, 68% of Bitcoin holders just are not selling. It's just locked up. I don't know anyone who's selling it. You know, if people are trading, they're doing, you know, crypto futures on altcoins and things like that, where they're really moving the needle. They're not day trading. You're not going to make much day trading Bitcoin. It moves like 3%, you know, unless you're using leverage. But whatever, that's another story. It's looking like Mara wants to bounce again. We had this we had a big pop up here with a little gap to fill in. The gap was filled and we came down and pretty much kissed that EMA right there. So regardless, I don't care what it does in the next month or so. You know, we're approaching, you know, right on about 2 months away, just about, you know, 67 days away from the Bitcoin halving. So, you know, a little over 2 months, and time is flying. I really thought, you know, I was like, God, I should have went heavier because COVID threw me off. I was like, oh, whoa, 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 whoa. And then my attention's pulled all over here. Oh my gosh, look what's going on with Macy's, with TJ Maxx, with, you know, RETL, the leveraged retail fund, with Apple, Nvidia, everything. The market, where's the bottom? I got fibs to 180 on SPY. You know, are these mining companies going to get delisted? They're below $1 now, right? I was thrown off, and I owned crypto. I was buying crypto. I was staying away from the miners, and I was considering buying Riot. It was around 28 cents. It was Mara or Riot? I think it was Riot. It was around 28 cents. Let's pull it up real quick. And some of the let me go to a weekly chart. Here it is down here. 51. No, it was lower than that. You know, a lot of times it doesn't show you because it can kiss that price in a day and then, you know, suck up, but it was lower. I remember it being around 30 cents, 28 cents, maybe a quarter, I think it was. Or maybe that was Mara. Was it Mara? Which one was it? Let me pull that up here. I don't know. Regardless, look at that. 36 cents to $85. Right. And it wasn't just this halving, it was the last one too. So I've elongated my charts. Here's what it looks like right now. But this, you know, this pop kind of smashes and squishes everything on the chart here. But let's go ahead and elongate that. Oh, so much more better and professional. And it kind of looks to me, if we look over here, like a sloppy inverted head and shoulders. Kind of. Not really, but kind of, you know. I'd like to see it come up and fill this volume gap over here, but let's go back over to the daily. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, and whenever it's running, you know, whenever it's exploding. But then I get kind of angry whenever it explodes because I'm like, well, I kind of want it to drop, and when it drops, I start freaking out, you know. But that's why I have a plan. I'm sticking with the plan, and I'm holding in through the halving. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the options flow here. I'm going to move myself over here. But, you know, we got a lot of 40 calls coming in, right? I don't know why, you know, when I look at some of the UOA, it's like, why not buy like 2026 or 2025? You know, you've got the money. Like, look at this dude over here. He's got $500,000. This fund guy, individual, whale, whatever it is, bank that's dropping $500,000 that's going to expire before the halving. It's probably going to get, Bitcoin's going to get some activity leading up to the halving. It always usually does. Just, you know, about 3 weeks prior, 2 weeks prior, it starts to push a little bit, not too much. Sometimes it pulls back a little bit after the halving, it cools off for a month or two, and then when things really calibrate, it starts to take off whenever the miners are like, our reward is half, we can't sell as much because we're not getting as much. So on top of a lot of the mining companies, they're just going to hold, right, and really hold selling. And their selling is going to be cut down by a bunch. So a lot of that activity is responsible for it moving here. And, you know, I'm seeing a lot of calls, 216, why would you, you know, 11K for next week? Why not just buy a 2025? I don't get it. I don't understand. It's not going to really start picking up steam till around the elections, as long as we're not in World War III by then. But you can see there was ferocious call flow. Now, that's a little bit better one right there, 621. There's going to be rate cuts during that time, so those should really, in my opinion, should go. Yeah, it's going to be great to see. I want to see if BlackRock's ETF and some of these crypto ETFs are going to have options on them. So I made sure to choose one. I dumped my FBTC by Fidelity. I went with IBIT. which is BlackRock's, because I want the one with the most volume. I don't want to have Wisdom. That does not. I just look like an idiot saying that. You can see this chopping all over the place. I don't want Wisdom Trees ETF, because it's like, when have you ever seen options on anything Wisdom Tree where the spreads aren't like, you know, the bid's 50 cents and the ask is 400, and you're like, what? And you get in it and immediately you can't get out. It's like you're stuck forever, and you're like, do I got to give it away for free? You know? So we can't really see anything here because the thing's so freaking new. Oh, does that look awful? This looks atrocious. But anyways, let me make the logo vanish here. I want to do some, I just want to check out, kind of think out loud live with you guys here. It's looking kind of good now. It's kind of hard when these funds are new. You know, I'd have to toy with the charting a little bit here. This is incorrect. But anyways, let's go back over to Mara here. So last time that we had a halving, we had, let's go over to here. This was in 2020. We went through ferocious rate cuts. What are we about to do now? And the halving's coming. The Fed said so. Ferocious rate cuts. It's coming. So everyone's like, oh my gosh, did you hear the Fed? They didn't cut in June. Or I mean in January. And they may not cut in March. I don't think they're going to cut this year. Did you hear the Fed? Look what happens when the Fed, they're trying to get everything down right now. You clowns. Okay? Here's what happened. Where was it? Was it right here? Or what? It was in December. Here's what happened. Can I go back? Let's see if I can pull this up on a 4-hour and go back far enough. I can't. Here's what happened the second the Fed starts talking about, was it November or was it in December? It was one of these. It was somewhere over in here where the Fed started talking about, it was either over here or over here. They started to get bullish. And they were talking about, they said they were cutting interest rates in 2024. The market exploded. Mortgage rates plummeted. Okay, that's inflationary. Things are going to start going up. Isn't that kind of counterproductive to what the Fed's trying to do right now? You know, bring inflation down. So you really think they're going to come on here and be permabulls? Like, oh, we're going to cut rates so low. We're going to do it this time. We're going to do it in May. Well, then it would price that in by May, and then it would start to peel off. You know what I mean? They're not going to do that. They're not going to tell you when, but we can read the bond yields. That'll be a separate video. And we can look out 1 month, 3 months, 6 month, 9 month, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year, 30 year, right? I don't think you can go up to 30. You can go up to 20. And the treasuries that you can buy. And it's showing treasuries right around 3 months from now peeling off a cliff. The yields are dropping. Like if I lock in a 3 month, it's lower than if I lock in a 1 month. If I lock in a 6 month, the yield is lower than if I lock in a 3 month. And it just goes down and down further towards the end of the year. So what is that telling you? I think there's about a 75% chance we cut in May and a 100% chance we cut in June. And they're just going to take off all the way to the end of the year. And they'll probably say, Powell's going to probably come out and say, and we're going to see where we're at with our next CPI, blah, 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 blah. And if it's appropriate, we may cut again, right? He's not going to say, we're going to cut to the end of the year. Because I've seen him do the opposite in winter of 2018. He said he was going to be cutting for the whole year. Or raising interest rates, and it sent the market into a crash. He has to watch what he says. Okay? So, I am ferociously bullish. Mara isn't my only holding. My biggest holding is in crypto, especially Ethereum. But I am very, very bullish on Mara going into late summer and into fall and winter of 2024 and early 2025. Very bullish. There's price targets up to $125 from some funds. My price target on this is around $80 to $100 on Mara at its peak. I like Mara over crypto because I can sell covered calls on it for income. So if you guys like this information and like these videos, make sure to like and follow for more.